Good evening, Dr. Klim. How are you doing tonight?
Dr. Todd Ehrlich in Texas, and I'm in El
Yes.
Paso. I have never forgotten that. I'm doing well today. Today was a good day. It was a restful day. I did about 4 units of CE online since I couldn't get it at the last convention I was planning to go to in April. But that motivates me. I listened to some great content and I worked on a few online videos. I fed my dog, made a meal, had a little relaxation. It's a good day. I feel really good.
Yeah. Me too. I just had a spectacular day, and I'll describe my shirt here in a minute. But
Yeah, I
just
like that shirt.
thanks. I appreciate you, Dr. Klim, James Klim, my doctor. You did my teeth, so you're still my doctor. Uh, you've been a great motivator for me. Not only we've known each other about 15 years now, but the
A bit.
the last, what is it, 2 months that we've been running these shows and interviewing just some of the amazing people. In fact, I just made a list of everybody that we interviewed and just awesome people.
I know
And
you sent that list to me, and I was thinking we did that many, huh?
we
Wow.
we we've probably close to 30 now, and some of them are just
Yeah.
world renowned dental leaders. And so,
Mm.
but you, my friend, are one of those dental leaders, and I look up to you greatly. And all of your deep thoughts that you're doing, I've been listening, even though I'm kind of running the show back here. I do listen to them, and the last 2 weeks, God has really spoken to me. I've
Mm.
really come to a new position in my heart. Yes, and it may seem sappy to some that are watching, but I don't care. I really don't even care. I know that my heart has been changed, especially in the last 2 weeks, and I've learned a lot of the importance of my
Mm.
practice. And as you know, I was upset about the non-essential label that we got, and that can't happen to me ever again. I'm never going to allow myself to feel that. And so, anyway, I thank you for everything that you've done for me.
Well, we bounce ideas off of each other, and likewise, come around this way. I don't have it all down. I struggle with the emotions that most everybody does, insecurities at times, just developmental aspects, and you just have to make a mental choice to get through it. And one of the best ways to lift yourself up is to do things for others. And doing the online dental show live together is doing things for others. We're passing on information, and in the meantime, we're being blessed. And it's lifted me up. It's helped my emotions to kind of come up to a better level. Hmm.
Yeah. Well, it's how that phrase "God works in mysterious ways."
Hmm. Oh, he does.
He certainly does. And the crazy thing is that no, it's not crazy. I don't know. I keep putting that in my head. It's not crazy. It's God driven. And it's just some of the people we have interviewed and talking to you privately, and some of my patients that have come out of the blue and said things to me. I'm like, this is
Hmm.
all. It can't be just random. It's very directed. And so, my poor team probably thinks I've lost my mind because I think I'm a different person, but I don't care. They're gonna be motivated. One of the
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
just I want my dad. I watched my dad for a long time. I remember him when he was a young man, and I was just a kid. And then I saw him progress through life, and he was a man that relied on the providence of the Almighty to direct his path. And I can look back on that and build my faith because I can see events over my life where it didn't always make sense. It wasn't always timed, maybe the way we want to time things. And I could see the progress of how that was developed into our family life and how things happen for the best outcome. Sometimes it didn't always seem like the best outcome,
Yeah.
but that was a father I had who left a legacy, and it blessed me a lot. And we want to pass it on to others. We want to build each other up as well, Todd.
Yeah.
You help me, you build me up. I like a sounding board. You have ideas, I have ideas, we have our styles, and yet, we're committed to respect one another and make it work and learn from each other. And that's the fun part of it. I interrupted you, but I had to get that out. You know that.
No, no,
That's
no.
right here.
You interrupt me whenever you want. So, one of the things, you and I are very active on Facebook, and I may be a little bit more deep
Yeah.
into the darker areas of Facebook. And,
What do you mean, forums?
yeah, although, well, Dhaval Patel just made a comment. It's not Keep Saraking. We're talking about the other ones. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's like this battle between hygienist and dentist, and it's
Yeah.
negative, and it's negative, and it's just harsh. And I'll admit, I'm not as mature as you are. I got hung up into it. I let my heart get hardened about a few things, and I'm in a different mindset now. But what we wanted to talk about tonight is the phrase "the new normal." And I was thinking about that a
Yeah.
lot today. And
Yeah.
the new normal sounds bad. The new normal is wearing all these gowns, and we're going to fight people, and we're going to raise our fees because we got to add more money to the PPE. And it's not that. It's the opportunity to actually make your life better, make your practice better. And, let's turn this into something positive. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know what? This has been on my mind all day long, and I could not get to the show fast enough tonight. So what do you think about those apples, James?
Well,
Klim?
I actually think you have another gift here being a preacher, And
Oh.
I love your passion. I had to go back in time, and this was probably about 23 years ago, where there was a significant dental company going after my records via audit, and that's when I was starting to do a lot of Impress. And they were giving me hassles for that throughout a year, and the only way I could get them off my back was to relieve myself from my contract with them, and that was my last dental contract. And I was also moving to a new office facility, and I was just thinking about, wow, this doesn't look too good. And I went melancholy with it, and at first, but yet when my back is to the wall, that's when you come up with some of your greatest moments of clarity and determination to survive and persevere. And what I learned from that is the next year we did significantly more in production without any contract to insurance. And I'm not recommending that to our viewing audience. I'm just sharing a story that when my back was to the wall, that's when you dig the deepest and find your true faith and your true purpose, and you will build skill sets and assets in your own life you didn't even know you had. And that's how I look at this now, is that the new normal is the new normal in you.
Exactly.
The new normal in me.
Right.
Hey, I got to show you a nice new normal for me.
There-
This
Hang on.
picture I put up here,
Let your camera focus. This is a great picture. I'll tell you when it's. Oh, there it's focused. There you go.
and that's the first picture I had with my wife when she joined me in the practice about 4 months after we were married. Do you see those nice lips marks on my face?
Oh yeah.
So that picture goes way back, and it's always been one of my favorites because that was our new normal at the time. We had our relationship ahead of us. We were together, and that was great. And when I look at our look in our eye, it was like a look of playfulness. And it kind of reminds me of the new normal now is, can you get that imagination? And one of the blessings I've had from listening to our guest is they've helped me recreate that first love of dentistry I've had way back, or I had way back. And just talking to others kind of keeps you motivated because, I practice by myself, and sometimes you can get in that trench of where you don't interact with others. And even though I do as an educator, it's not the same. And you just connecting with you, we started connecting a lot more with the downtime, and then look what happened with us. We got creative because you and I are creative. Like, look at your photography, look what you're doing. And this creativity we have makes a new normal. I know a new normal for us is going to be the Dental Show Live, and who knows where that's going to go.
Yeah.
We're just going to let it fly and do our best. And I know you and I, when we get an idea, we put effort into it. Just like when we lecture, we do a presentation. Anything we do, we elevate ourselves. We do the best we can, not to be better than others, but to be the best we can be So when we do present what we do, well, I didn't say that right. So when we do present something, we're doing our best and trying to make a difference in other people's lives. And I appreciate that in you, because when I work with you on things, a lot of times, folks, Todd's just like one step ahead of me in so many different ways. And he has these ideas. He's here, he's here, he's here. And it's kind of like this nice flow. And we get that from our community. I got that from the people that were on our show. And that was great.
Yeah. One of the just with that note, one of the things that I read a book because one of my good friends, he's a patient of ours as well. His name is Steve Rigby, just an awesome man. He's influenced me greatly. He's a leader in home building. And anyway, he gave me this book. 212 degrees. And what's amazing about this book is that it's an easy book, but the concept is that water is only hot at 211 degrees, but 212, it transforms into boiling water and things change, and it can run a train. And it's basically everything you do in life. Try to do 1 extra degree. Try to make it so that it's a little bit better. And the reason why I'm wearing let me show this, my official motorcycle jacket, is because I just happen to have a patient that come in this week. And again, I think I am convinced that this is all God driven. So in Austin, Texas, we have COTA, which it has many of the big races, the F1, the MotoGP, and I'm really into the MotoGP. And it got canceled right as this dang virus came around. And I was so disappointed. We had great tickets and everything. But anyway, somebody at COTA, who I can't say who he is, but he knows a lot about what's going on. They're going to have the race in November. I'm 99% certain with what he told me. And as far as what it goes with this book, if you're not into motorcycle racing, which I'm not, I'm just a big fan. This picture you're seeing right now is Valentino Rossi coming up behind Alex Rins. Now, a couple things. So I'm a big Valentino Rossi. This is his shirt. He's an older dude in the MotoGP. He's in his 40s, and he's beaten guys in their 20s. Well, last year at the race, Marc Marquez, who has won it every single year, he's dominant in MotoGP. He wrecked right in front of me, and then Alex Rins and Valentino Rossi are coming around the bend. And so this picture you're seeing right now is Alex Rins, who's never won a race. He's in MotoGP. He's on Team Suzuki, which has always been like a 3rd or 4th tier team. Comes out of the blue and passes the Michael Jordan of motorcycle racing right in front of me on turn 15, and ends up winning the race by seconds, like not even seconds, like half a second. And it was a big deal. And it was literally because he decided, and his moment in his heart when he saw Marc Marquez wreck in front of him, that he could come around. All he had to do was add 1 more degree, and he ended up winning the biggest race of his life. And everybody in the stands were going crazy. And so, although my favorite Valentino Rossi didn't do it, he's won plenty. He's won so many, he's forgotten how many he's won. But that one win for Alex Rins on Team Suzuki 42 was huge. And I kind of look at it like this. Sorry, I went a little long on that, but I kind of look at it like this.
It's good. Good passion, Todd.
Well, it was so fun, and I was so disappointed that it got canceled this year, but we're back. So Ed Ferreira, if you're watching, we're in the RV again. So you got to come down from Boston. Anyway, I look at it like this, a dental office there's all sorts of turmoil and employees and what we're doing with our loans and PPP and all this stuff. All we have to do is every single moment that we're in our practice, wherever it is, add that 1 degree. And I mean, this book made such a big influence on me that I'm going to try to make an extra degree in everything I do. And down to the simple things, like when I'm getting the clamp around the matrix band so I can establish that contact, do I have it all the way in, or did I just sloppily put it in? No, I'm going to make sure it's totally in. It's going to be right. I'm going to take that extra moment to actually make things better. And I'm going to practice like this for the rest of my life, James Klim.
I love it. I love it. On that note, by the way, do you lay your bike down that far? That's something else, isn't it?
Well, let me go back to that picture real quick. Let me just make a comment on this. So, when these guys are coming around a corner, they are going. In this picture, they're probably doing about 65 miles an hour on almost a 95-degree bend, and they have to lean their bike over. Now, the difference is in just riding for fun. Mm-hmm. On a track, what's what's around the corner.
That's right.
You know there's not a bus pulling out. So it's actually very dangerous to ride in real life, but on a track it's much easier. So even on the tighter turns, if they blow out, there's a safe zone that they wipe out into, but still it's pretty fun. They go up to 200 miles an hour. It's crazy.
It's unbelievable. When I watch people like that, and even surfers, I grew up in Hawaii, and I watch the current surfers today conquer these huge waves, clear up to 100 feet, and knowing that a lip like that could snap your neck, and they practice for it. But one thing I noticed about people that do this is that they get this thing in their body where they have to have that rush, and they live for the rush, which takes them to the next level. Jenny said that in Sacramento. Appican, she likes to be slightly on the edge when she's doing new procedures because she gets that rush that keeps her moving to the next level. And I think there's a common thread there in what they do. Very interesting.
Yeah, Jenny, a Peckian. She gave me a lesson on it.
Sorry,
I
Jenny,
said it right.
I'm sorry.
Jenny. I practiced.
I love you, but I even slaughter my own name sometimes. So.
She is one of the epic ladies, and man, did we have a blast talking to the epic ladies that week.
Yeah, that was fun.
And we threw in one dude just for fun, Dr. Michael Fisher. But man, they inspired me also. Here I am trying to schedule everybody to get on the show, and it just kind of worked out where all the ladies were coming on. And after the end of that week, I'm thinking, this is the passion of digital dentistry. This is the passion of dentistry, and they're grouped together. And whether they're female or male, it doesn't matter. I love them. They're my friends now. It's fantastic.
Well, I feel like I know so many people better now, and next time I see them in live, it's going to be different, because when you know about people, you connect differently. And I don't really watch Facebook that much, but I do follow a lot of people just occasionally, just to kind of see what people are up to, and you kind of get a flow for their life. But no, the connecting is the way to do it. It's a lot of fun, and community is part of development for all of us, particularly with our hearts and the way we connect with others. We were designed to connect.
Yes.
And the thing with the shutdown is that it takes away that natural tendency that you need to have a healthy life. And the dental show live definitely helped me to connect. In fact, I missed it when we weren't doing every day. And I know we can't do it every day with our busy lives, but we're going to keep doing this as far as we can see. And it's amazing what creativity is going to come around the corner for us. And I know working with you, it's going to be some pretty rowdy stuff. It's going to be like going around that corner with those bikes and laying it down and moving forward, because I get that adrenaline rush just doing this show. You know that, Todd? That's the element for me. And I like going around and speaking about dentistry and passion. And though I'm not traveling like I used to, I'd always get a high from that. For instance, last Friday, I did a whole day on Zoom, and then I went and got my hair cut, and then I came and did the evening show with Jay and Frankie, and I felt, even my body felt better at the end of that day, because it was like I was in my passion mode. Just a little side note here. Studies have shown that each one of us has a strength component in a quadrant of our brain, okay? And when you can tap into your life's work, where that one quadrant gets 100 times more oxygen than the other quadrants. we have a tendency to gravitate toward that portion of our brain. Now, mine is upper right, very, very, very creative. Now, you know what the cross brain strength of that is lower left, which we need for dentistry, right? But to go from upper right to lower left, you just can't diagonally go across the brain to access that portion of your brain. You have to go around, which takes energy. It takes oxygen. It takes the process of how the chemical process of our brain will develop to work effectively. And what I have found as I get older, when you dwell in your brain strength for your career, which is doing what we're doing right now, your immune system's higher, your brain chemistry, like your dopamines and oxytocin, they're higher. And I think as dentists, we have to work in all quadrants of our brain. But I noticed in some of our interviews that people would share where they really enjoyed it. Like Jenny said, she enjoys the leadership portion. Well, there's a portion there, probably in her upper left, that she's naturally inclined to excel at. And that would be my challenge to everybody is dentistry requires all quadrants of the brain. And if you try to do it all and micromanage, you'll eventually burn out. As simple as that. But when you can find the portion of your brain, in fact, there's actually tests that you can take that identify that. And that was an eye-opening experience for me. I'm kind of going a little sideways here, but I'm coming back to the motorbike, you know? So our motorbike, I think, is doing what we do here. We love to connect with people. We love the educational side. We love to build other people up. And I know you and I have this passion of wanting to bless people, not because it just blessed us, is because we want to help other people as leaders make better choices in life so they can have a better life, better decisions, and that's what we want to give back. Not that we have it all down, but hey, between you and me, how many years do we have? We're getting there 60 years together.
Yeah.
Of doing this thing.
Well, you know, and as you were saying all that about dentistry, one of the unique things, I can't say unique. I don't know. All I know is dentistry, so I'm going to assume it's unique. One of the things that happens when we go through dental school and we live the world of dentistry, it's so detail oriented, and the only way to success is 100%. You have to get an A+. You can't get an A-. And so that mindset is in our head, and we transfer that to our employees, our lab technicians, maybe even our patients, and we don't even know that we're doing it.
We're projecting that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said.
Well, and the problem, and I fall victim to this all the time. As the older I get into dentistry, I can release that a little bit, but it so transfers into our lives as well. And I think this new normal, wherever you're at in life, wherever you're at in dentistry, take it as an opportunity to step back, reflect on your inner soul, what's important to you. And it's easy to say family and everything, but what is really important to you? I'll give you of everybody we interviewed, and we've had monumental interviews.
Incredible interviews, yeah.
One of the things that hit me more than anything, and I haven't told you this, it wasn't even during the interview, it was when I was setting up for Dhaval Patel. And he stopped me in my tracks when I was trying to get the time down for him to come on our show. And he said, you know what, I can't start at 5 or whatever it was. I'm going to be having dinner with my family. I'll do it right afterwards. And this was like 5 days before. So just that one moment put a thought in my head about the importance of family. And he said it without even blinking. And so we've had great people. And even from one of our first interviews, like Weston Hatcher, a young guy, passionate,
23, already very gifted, so gifted.
Absolutely. Sasha Avanasian, sorry, that's a tough one. I can say a Pekian, but Avanasian.
He gets it. You know what? I've been following him more since then. Great quotes he puts out almost every day. Just Harvest Dental.
Anybody watching us right now, go back and watch his video. I promise you will not be disappointed. And just amazing products. Of all the people that we've interviewed, who do you think's had impact on you, James?
Well, it's hard to point one out. I think if I were to just get a general theme, each one of our interviews have their own story, and the I'm going to just make a metaphor here. One of my favorite books is the Bible, but I've always enjoyed the stories of the Bible because they have meaning to them. So let's go back to the people we've interviewed. I look at them as a book that have a story. Each one of them have different gifts, different experiences, but they're all here now, and they shared who they were. And if you put that together as a package, you have a super dentist. You've got a super dentist, because that's what builds us up. And I think that's what I've learned the most from this, was being encouraged by the ones that we were interviewing. And I think it was a gift. I'm going to be selfish about it. It was a gift to me.
Yeah.
More than anyone else, because it was a good time for me to work emotionally through this downtime. Because I struggled a little bit I'm used to really being focused and proactive about what I do, everything in life, if maybe too much. And it helped me to calm down a little bit and see what other people are doing. Yeah.
So everyone has a unique thumbprint, and even everybody that we interviewed, unique and different. We wouldn't have had them on the show if they weren't going to be some sort of inspiring guest, And one of my favorites was Mark Morin. I just love that guy. That guy, he cracks me up, Mark Morin. And what I like about him is that he represents the history of CEREC that we're so involved in, and I'm really into things like that. And I love hearing what he has to say about what was happening in 10 or 20 years ago in CAD/CAM world. But in T-Bone, we had Tarun on. That guy, we could have talked to that guy for 2 hours straight. He doesn't stop.
We could probably have done even an 8-hour. He just has a mind that goes.
Yeah.
And but what I liked? He said something that was critical, and he learned from 2008, and that was about the balance of life.
Yes.
And I think that's another thing we can take from this is, we're at home with our families. Davil said that, giving priorities to your family. And sometimes when you don't have a luxury to do what's normal for you, like go on a trip, vacation, or even going to a restaurant, what you find is that we don't need to have those things to have joy. Actually, I can hang out in the back with my wife and my dog and just sip on some tea and just enjoy it. And
actually, Davil just made a comment. Let me throw that up there so we can read it. It says, Davil says, I think it would be great to discuss how do you allow yourself to not get bogged down when you haven't been able to achieve the highest level of work. So kind of like when you're doing your B-level work, it's B-level. What do you do, James? Well, James probably always does A+. That's the perception I have of you. But when you did a B, how do you not get yourself bogged down?
What's interesting? I'm my worst critic, and I know a lot of dentists are, because that's why a lot of them are critical on forums. That's the truth. Or if I'm doing a lecture and I have someone who's just maybe being a little critical, I actually have compassion for them because I know they're struggling with something inside. I struggle with things inside like that. Now, some of my C work, what would that be? Well, we have to work in an environment that's a hurricane. We can't always control the biofunctional aspects of the mouth. My goal is I want good margins, good proximal contacts, and I want occlusion that's not going to get in the way. Sometimes those look pretty ugly. Sometimes they don't look like a tooth because we have to make them fit the aged condition of the mouth. And yet I can still get joy from that because I help someone. Yeah. But I still get bugged by bad margins. And I wish, it drives me. The other thing that I have to think about is, as an educator, you're thinking, okay, this patient's going out of the office. It's got to be perfect. And sometimes I put a little too much pressure on myself there. I think as I'm getting older, I'm learning how not to let that sway me so much, but just do the best you can. Use the steps that you need to get it done well, knowing the fact that some things are beautiful And I think I mentioned before, one of my best is set of cases where I did 2 centrals on a lady who came in with a life support system that the physician told me not to work on her, and she begged me to do it. And I said, well, I don't want you dying in my chair. And she goes, well, I'm going to die anyway. I just want to die with 2 good front teeth. And it was the quickest case I've ever done. I used Impress. I polished them. I placed them in. They didn't really blend with the rest of the mouth, but she cried and lived another 3 years. But I still remember that. That was a few years ago, and she has since passed on. But it wasn't one of my cases that I would get up and put in a competitive show. But yet I got more meaning from that because of what it did for that person. And I think when we critique things online, and this would be my challenge to people out there, would be, even when I teach, I always ask people, what do you like best about what's going on for you here? You know, what's the meaning in this? And then ask someone, what would you change? And I always do that even in my educational classes. I am straightforward, but I'm about lifting people up and making sure they learn. Because what happens is if you're too critical of others, particularly online today, because it's easy to do that. I always say if you put anything online, you should be able to say it to someone's face. And if you can't say it to their face, just don't say it at all. And think about that, because what you don't want to do is hold other people back from placing things online because they don't want to get criticized. Right. And it's true, we have to be big boys. I tell you, being an educator or writing articles, you have to learn how to deal with the dough and the criticism. And that was a little hard for me at first because I was sensitive. But that would be my plea to our dental profession is become good people in the way you talk about other people. And even if you see something that was done grossly wrong, try to build them up in the process of what would you change if you could change that again? In fact, every case I do, I take pictures of. I look at the final pictures, and the patient's happy, and I'll bring it out maybe a month later and just say, you know, it's new to my eyes. And say, okay, what would I do different the next time around? And make it a positive flow in your brain, because your brain is, you have to guard the chemistry of your brain. You want to build on a positive mindset and not try to achieve because you don't want to fail. Right. Because if you're trying to achieve because you don't want to fail, you're going to always be down in the garbage. And eventually that will get to you. And a lot of dentists go that way because it's our culture, it's our temperament type. And I think we really have to work on that. I'm preaching.
That's okay. I'm listening.
But I'm preaching because I'm the one who's had to travel that road the most in my own life. And I have more joy because there's a quote here on a book that I love reading. It's called The Pebble in the Shoe by James Fannin. It's a great book, but he says this: it takes less than 90 seconds to change your mind and reverse your course of action. And my challenge to my profession is it only takes 90 seconds to say, next time I make a comment online, I'm going to build that person up first. I want to connect with them, become their friend, and find out what we can do to help them rather than getting into the defensive mode of things. Because one of the things that I think is challenging with social media today, particularly Twitter, is that there are things being said in communication that is negatively impacting our country because people are so critical of one another, and a lot of it's not truth.
It's becoming normal.
It's becoming the norm, and what concerns me about that is what that's going to do to the next generation, and then that's going to change society. I'm sorry, I'm really going on this, right?
Go for it.
Because it's not because I'm perfect, but my plea would be, and as an educator, my commitment to the people I teach is I want them to be better than me. It's not about me being better than them, because I'm not. I work hard at what I do, and I've struggled in mastering what I do, and I can always be better, but I don't beat myself up anymore. And my plea to my dental colleagues is don't beat yourself up, because when you communicate, it's coming through.
Yes.
But whenever I see that, I have compassion for people on that. In fact, I love hecklers in my lectures. I just love hecklers because, my goal is to respect them.
Yeah.
knowing the fact that they need to be respected. And as an educator, before you can educate, you need to submit to your audience, right?
Yeah.
And you find a way to bring them around so when they go home, they felt like they had a good day, and it wasn't their norm anymore because someone blessed them in the way they were being treated. And I'm not perfect on that, but that's kind of like my quest in life right now. I know I'm really preaching right now, but I'm preaching to myself, and that's my challenge to others.
This is funny. You know who my worst heckler was in all the
Who's that?
lectures I've done? I'm not going to say the city because then somebody would know where he is. But his name was Dr. Erlich. I'm not even joking. He was in the back room. He was wearing a cowboy hat, and he was heckling me the whole time. And I got the funniest vibes out of it just because I was like, "This is God put this guy in for me to make me better." Oh no, James is going somewhere. Well, oh, you got your cowboy hat. Oh, good. Well, you could.
My name's Erlich, and I've got an attitude.
He was great. The funny thing is I was I don't want to go into the CEREC conversation, but I was going into the ROI of CEREC and why it's so great and everything, and I was talking about how many units you do per month, and talk about fixed assets versus or expenses and non-fixed expenses, and he was like, "Well, I already know how many restorations I'm going to do in 3 months. I already know how many I'm going to do." I said, "Well, how in the world do you know that? I mean, I don't even know how many I'm going to do next week." And he said, and he put his arms together like this. He goes, "Because I do 0." He was retired. He was just there for the CE. But man, that guy, he was awesome. So thank you for wearing that cowboy hat. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's fun. No, thank you for sharing that, because I think as educators, that's always my goal, and I've learned from many great educators through the years. And
well, speaking of, let's get back to the topic of your new normal, the power of making your new normal positive instead of negative. And
yeah,
I think one of the things that I've tried to do, or I take that back. Not that I've tried to do, but maybe I've mistakenly done, and maybe I've tripped up on my own heartstrings here and there. But the older I get, I am in my 50s now, so I'm not. It's a whole different world being in the 50s and 40s. But there was so I've lectured a lot, and I had the huge opportunity of lecturing to the Patterson sales force privately about 7 years ago, and for anybody that's watching that was in that lecture, you know what I said, you know what I did, and I was bleeding my heart out to these people. And for 7 years, I've looked at it kind of like, I told them too much about my personal life. I told them too much about this, and then the older I get, I'm thinking, no, I didn't, because you know why? I didn't tell them too much. I told them exactly right about all the hardships that I was going through in my life, because I had a phone call. One of the people in the room, there's about 500 people in the room, called me. He and I became very good friends, and I helped him in his own struggles of life. And so, not that we have to just bleed ourselves to everybody, but when you're sitting in front of that patient, or you're sitting in front of the team member that makes the less amount of money in the whole team, that's the opportunity to tell them something personal about yourself. Be open to them. Divulge something, because they need to hear that a leader doesn't have it all figured out.
No, we don't. Yeah,
we don't.
I remember Dr. James Dunn, one of my mentors in dental school. I think he was 35 and I was starting dental school, and I still see him. In fact, he introduced me at the last CDA, and he's still practicing a few days a week. He's working for the doctor who he sold the practice to. But I remember he said something in dental school. He said, when you get into your dental career, you're going to be driven to produce and get the dentistry done. And he says, sometimes you just need to listen to the patients, because that patient may be coming in and you never know, maybe they lost their uncle or something traumatic happened to them. And sense their spirit. And he says sometimes the best appointment is to listen and reschedule them for the dentistry, knowing the fact that you blessed them and you were there to listen to them. And I've never forgotten that.
That's a
I've
great
never
idea.
forgotten that. And I think as I get older, even with my patients now, I try to be really tender to them about sometimes you just sense things and you can say something of encouragement. And not that you know it all and you don't need to know it all, but pay attention to your senses. I think I've gotten better as I've gotten older there. And I think part of that's, who I'm married to, she's helped me with that. But yeah.
Me too.
And then I'm getting better estrogen as I get older. So I'm getting a little more tender.
Yeah, Bob Marcus, who we interviewed recently, just said those patients become your best referral sources,
Yeah.
evangelist of sorts. That is true. We get to know patients better than probably any other healthcare provider. Physicians don't know the patients. We do, because we see them on a routine basis, and we become their friends and allies. And some of my all-time favorite patients, we are completely diametric politically. We couldn't possibly ever have a conversation on politics or anything like that, but man, I love them. They come in, we have the best conversations because we know what to talk about, what not to talk about. And so again, if you're trying to find your new normal out there, stop and listen to what the patient has to say, listen to what your assistant has to say, listen to what your spouse has to say. And James, I've listened to you. I get great inspiration from you, and I think anybody that is watching the show will understand what I'm saying.
Well, what's interesting about this evening, I know we kind of had this little flow we were going to go with, and
Sure.
One thing when you and I are together, and this happened because a lot of people may not know this, but you and I kind of toured the country with Paul Homley for a year.
Yeah, we did.
Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Paul has had a huge impact, but we need to get him on.
We
Just
do
thought
need to get
about
Paul
that.
Homley on
But
here.
Paul Homley was about learning how to speak your truth up front. And I've taken, I think, 3 classes from him over the last 10 or 15 years. But we did that flow together around the country. And one thing I always noticed when you and I were up front, where we would just, I don't know, we just had this chemistry where, we respond to the crowd, we take it where it needs to go, we feed off of each other in a positive way. And I feel like that's kind of what we're doing now, where we kind of, even Paul said that when you're giving a good speech, know what your talking points are, but let moments of clarity come, respond to what's happening, and let it flow. And sometimes the biggest blessings are the moments of clarity happen, because Paul would even talk about the fact that when you're in that moment and you're in that brain strength, your brain's working better, and you will come up with thought processes that you never knew were there. Then make sure you write them down. Make sure you write them down. So and there's some lines I use that came across either from I plagiarized what you or Paul said, or a moment of clarity on my part, and I went and wrote it down, and I occasionally use those lines because the lines contribute to a story. And I think that's why I'm looking forward to what we're going to do here on the Dental Show Live, because our goal is to structure this a little bit more, make it interesting, have different parts to it, but make it meaningful to watch.
Yeah.
Because it's going to make an impact on your life. And I'm really looking forward to this journey.
Yeah. So my new normal, and I know your new normal that's coming up, is we're positive. I don't think I've ever been more excited than the day that my wife Christine and I opened in January of 2000 the new practice. We didn't have one patient. I mean, just nothing, and it was scary. But we've worked for 2 weeks now, and it's not been the same. I mean, it's changing, but now, one of the things I even got from Arun Garg, Dr. Garg, is that we need to start adding more procedures. Just get out of your box.
Yeah.
If something is not in your toolbox, start adding it. So I'm going to start doing implants. So everybody out there that's given me hell for all these years, I'm going to start doing them. But the first thing I'm going to do is I got all my root canal stuff pulled out. I'm going to start doing a few root canals in here and there. So
good for you. And I'm looking forward to that new irrigation system that that
Oh,
DeTola
Mike
talked
DeTola.
about.
Yeah, Mike
Yeah,
DeTola. Totally. Yeah, that was pretty
yeah.
interesting. Going back to Jenny Apekian, is that
Mhm.
man, that girl does everything. She was talking about all on sixes and managing a huge practice, and then Shivy and Mona, part of the Epic Ladies, they do so much at a high level that I want to be like them.
You know
That's
who
my
I
goal.
enjoyed coming on? I enjoyed Lynn Thomas.
Oh yeah,
And
Lynn was
you know, it would
great.
be fun to have her and her husband on because they practiced together and they really operated at a very high level.
Hmm.
And I remember when I first met them, it was just a first glance. It was years ago at a study group. And they both came up and, just what they want to do and achieve. And I know they're getting into the educational world and they need to give back because they have so many gifts. And I want to give a shout out to both Lynn and Jurgen. So,
Yeah, and Deanna Snitzer. I know you didn't know
yeah,
her, but
I did.
I followed her on Facebook a lot. Man, I was blown away the hour talking to her. I have never met anybody in my entire life that has it all together. She had
What a
everything.
package of energy and intellect and personality.
Oh, driver,
And
just
and I love her dog.
beautiful dog. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've just had amazing guests, and
Well, I don't
you
want to
know,
leave anyone out because we've had so many.
we've had
What a
John
blast with
Nosty.
Jay Frankie last week, and how about Mark Fleming?
Oh,
The
from Sea
man that's been
Dogs. Yeah.
around as long as me.
Yeah.
Um,
Friend of Phlegm. And Alex Nudell from Revenue Well. That guy, he knows more about dentistry in general than the business of dentistry than ever. And on,
Andre, he was one of our first interviews,
he was good. Definitely
and then
into
Julie and Cindy.
Julie Varney and my assistant Cindy Barbie.
Yeah,
They added
and
some.
you know who started it all off was Karen Halpern.
Yeah, Karen Halpern. She's got to be out there. She's one of our biggest fans. Thank you, Karen.
I don't know her that well, but I've watched her comments on Facebook, and she has a very thoughtful heart and a mind of wisdom. And that just came out when you listened to her on there. And then Christine
Adlan. Yeah.
Adeline, I mean, she has leadership skill sets that I would dream to have. And good old August, right?
Oh, good old August. You got to like that guy. He's all over the map, but he's definitely a
And
motivator. He's got a huge following. I mean, so many people follow what he does, and I can't understand why. No, I'm
and
just kidding.
Mona just tickled me to death. I love her energy. I mean, if I were practicing with someone,
She'd be great. She's the one that did the dance live on our show.
yeah.
The little stair stepping
And
thing,
then
which I'm not going to do.
Michael and Marisa, we need to do another one with them and find out how their opening's been back up. Been following their Facebook site and their whole team. They had some videos of their team marching down that beautiful theater of a
Beautiful.
practice.
So we have a number of guests that are already lined up for
Okay. Yeah.
those that I've spoken to. We're getting the dates down and everything. We have a few that are coming around the bend that are going to knock your socks off.
Yeah.
And not to discount who we've had. I mean, they're just
No.
amazing people. But if you're interested in being on our show, we'd love to have you. So send me a message or James a message, and I think we need to start wrapping it up. So
Yeah.
James, I didn't tell you this, but I got one last little scene I gotta play, and then
Let's do it. Let's do it, Todd.
all right.
Yeah.
Well, this is me this morning out on my motorcycle, and I spent a lot of time thinking about what I was going to say tonight. This was a meaningful message, and what I want everybody to know is your new normal can be what you make of it. So as I'm trying to spend some time and get rid of all the negatives off that street and focus on the shifting, downshifting, upshifting, the brakes, there's so many things to think about, but don't let life pass you by. You got to look at the trees. You got to look at the sunset as it's going by. And I like to do it on a motorcycle, but you could easily do it in your car on the way home. Take a moment in your life to reflect on your family members, your team members, yourself, and people that you impact every day. And I think that our new normals, our dentistry new normal, will be better than ever. And it won't be this negativity that we're seeing on Facebook. It's going to be a better world for all of us. And with that, James, I'm done. This has been a great night. Thank you so much.
Yes, and happiness is a choice. And I want to ride a bike. That's a choice.
Let's get you shooting guns first. All right, everybody.
Love you guys.
Love
Stay
you.
safe.
See
Stay
you.
positive. See you next time.
Peace. Thanks, everybody.